All right. Adesanya versus Whittaker 2. This fight, sorry, I'm pausing because I laid out in the preview how how I thought Whittaker could win, right? His path to victory. And he did exactly what he needed to do. So obviously, for those of you guys who didn't know, why are you watching this? But Adesanya ends up getting the decision. One of those scorecards was a little wonky, but I believe two of the other scorecards were more on track of what it should have been. Here's what I don't understand. Not what I don't understand, sorry. Here's what I find unfortunate is the one-sidedness of the commentary team was very influential on the public outcome, right? Or the public view of the outcome of this fight. I think those in the know and people who watch MMA frequently who can form a more nuanced opinion and can kind of put that commentary stuff to the side, have realized that it didn't go down exactly how they said it did, right? If you listen to the commentary and that's all you listen to, this is going to sound, it sounded like a complete shutout, 5-0 to Adesanya. That's just not the case, okay? Adesanya got the decision 48-47, 48-47, and 49-46. That one is the one that is possible, right, with the judging criteria, but I don't agree with that one in the slightest. In my opinion, so the first minute of the fight was a slow start, a lot of distance gauging. Whittaker just did not get it going in the first round, by the way. If you want to look at the striking totals here, I mean, he landed 9, but they were very significant strikes, and he got dropped at one point by Adesanya. Adesanya was focusing on the legs early and going to the body. So he was using a lot of distance striking, and he was more aggressive than he has been in the past. And I think that kind of changed how Whittaker approached this fight because the patience that he needed to have, and I believe kept him in this fight and kept the fight very close, like razor thin. I think it threw off his game plan slightly. We'll get into that later about how he felt about it. We saw a couple blitzes, the Bobby Knuckles blitz where he rushes in, throws, and then gets the left hook, but it didn't follow it with a high kick. Nothing doing. Adesanya was wise to it. No real damage. Nothing was done there. And at the 2-minute mark, that's when Adesanya dropped him. And it was a clear round for Izzy. This was by far, round 1 was the clearest round for Adesanya. Like, I don't think there can be an argument made that Whittaker won this one. I don't think anybody's making that argument. Let's move past it. Second round. This is a very, very close round and very deceptive. Because if you listen to the commentary, it sounds like Adesanya dominated this round as well. And because of positioning, maybe you thought that. But this round, okay, Whittaker started more aggressive, and he landed a few hooks early on. That's why the striking numbers were so close in the second round, 16-12, right? If we look over here, 16-12 in favor of Adesanya. So Adesanya is still winning on the striking totals, and I'll get to what I thought about this round in a second, but Whittaker got his first successful takedown at 2 minutes and 40 seconds, and a nice little fence grab from Adesanya to get up. No damage done by Whittaker. The fence grab wasn't egregious, but it's a fence grab nonetheless. It just didn't get caught because it was very fast. This round was extremely close, and I even wrote it in my notes when I watched it live. Well, not live, but when I watched it back, right? So I don't like to be influenced by knowing the results. So when I'm watching the first time, I have my first impression, then I'll go back and I'll look at the striking totals, the actual striking totals, to see if my opinion might be swayed, right? Because how I saw that round, I gave that second round to Izzy. But I wrote in here, I have to look at the numbers because the takedown and what Whittaker was able to do could have swayed me towards Whittaker. The 16-12 plus the damage, I still give it to, this round is so close. This round is the deciding factor, and we'll get into that in a second, but this one is the deciding factor for me, and I still gave it to Adesanya, but barely. Just barely. We are talking about a razor close round here. And it might not seem like it, because if you go back with the way Adesanya carries himself and the way he looks like he's doing damage, watch that round. I've watched it again, just the second round specifically, because this was the close round for me. Go back and watch it again, and you tell me what you think. But I'm telling you, hold on, that this round is a lot closer. Turn off the commentary, by the way, because that is not helping anybody. It actually makes things quite difficult to be objective about. There's a lot of things in here in this round that can sway back and forth, and I think that I really think the way to... Oh, crap. Sorry. Got to get rid of all these. I'm currently doing management because otherwise I'm going to run out of room on my PC because I'm an idiot. So dumb. Okay, there we go. Now I should be good. Anyway, like I was saying, this round is super close. If you go back and watch it without the commentary, you're going to see that it really depends on what you're looking for, what you're looking at, how you grade that takedown versus and control, how much damage you think one of Izzy's shots versus one of Whittaker's shots did. There's an argument to be made for both these people, for both these guys, and this is why the judging criteria and the modern MMA scoring and all those things can allow two people to see the exact same round and get a different result and follow the rules to a T. Okay, but for me, I went to Izzy. All right. Third round was more stationary from both guys. There was a little bit less. There was still movement, but there was less. I wouldn't say frantic, but it seemed like they were more stationary and more ready to stay in the middle. Right, that was less moving in and out towards the back of the cage in the third round. Whittaker did catch a kick and got him down, spending some time riding the back while they were standing, but no real threat of submission in this third round. And the leg kicks were really taking a toll. You know, they were one of Whittaker's legs went out with 40 seconds left in the third round. Very close round again. Okay, with the takedown plus the back control, very close round. And if you look at the striking numbers, almost a carbon copy of the round before, 17-12 as opposed to 16-12, right? Adesanya actually got less, he landed less strikes every single round, 18, 16, 17, 15, 13, okay? So he did worse and worse every single round. As far as landing, right? His percentage went up and down here, left and right, whatever. It's just he landed less. And I think Whittaker was doing a really good job with his game plan. I think he did an excellent job. I think he did exactly what he needed to do. And I think this might have been one of the best case scenarios for Whittaker outside of a knockout or something crazy happening. And it turned into a 50-50. Okay, so I don't think I was wrong or outlandish with my predictions for this fight. I don't think I was way off with how I thought it would go. This is pretty much exactly what Whittaker needed to do, and he did what he needed to do. And I'm surprised one of the judges didn't go towards him, to be honest with you. I figured there would be a split decision at the end of this. So in the third round, he landed a good left hook. He got a double leg. Sorry. At the start of the fourth, he got a good left hook. I wrote that down wrong. And then Whittaker got a double in space, which was good for him because taking Izzy down in space is a very hard thing to do. Climbed to his back and then tried to get a rear naked choke while they were standing, but nothing was doing. This is the round where Whittaker started to win on my book. And if you want to go strike for strike, damage for damage, maybe Adesanya, maybe he eked him out on a damage per shot, but I would say if anything, this one could be dead even as far as damage goes. So now we're looking at control, and then he did get that takedown. Whittaker did get that takedown. I have no problem giving this to Whittaker. In fact, when I watched it live, I gave this to Whittaker, round 4. And then in the 5th round, with 2:40 left, Izzy gets an eye poke for free. Pressure and damage for Robb in the final round. This one is so close, and it really comes down to that second score. So I gave that last round. Again, we want to look here, 13-10. Not outlandish to give it to Whittaker. Him getting the takedown in the 5th round, landing more damage. I felt like he did a very good job landing damage in the 5th round. The 4th and 5th round went to Whittaker, in my opinion. So it really comes down to how do you grade this second round. If you give it to Adesanya, he wins. If you give it to Whittaker, I think Whittaker should have gotten that belt. So, in my opinion, I think the judges got it correct, as close as this might be, and as big of a fan of Robert Whittaker as I am, and as much as I'd like to see them fight for a third time, and that because if Whittaker won, they'd have to run it back. I don't think he did enough in that second round. It was close. It was close. Right? And I'm not mad at anybody who says they think Whittaker won. Rightfully so. I've even seen some people giving the 3rd round to Whittaker. That's also fine. Okay? Like there was a lot of things that happened in this fight that it really comes down to, from your perspective, which shots did more damage in what round, who had more control in the rounds where the damage was even. Do you consider octagon control more important for you than positional control and the takedowns that didn't do anything? Or do you consider those takedowns doing slight damage because, there is impact? They weren't high altitude takedowns, but they were takedowns that brought him down to the mat nonetheless. So he is actively trying to finish the fight. He's trying to advance position. He did kind of go for a rear naked choke, and that's a submission attempt. So there's a lot of things that happened in this fight. There's a lot of nuance that went into this, and I think you can make, like I've said 1,000 times already, right? Whittaker could have won this fight, and I don't think that's outlandish. Okay. In my opinion, though, watching it back, Adesanya did enough for me. Now, let's talk about what happened afterwards as far as opinions. Whittaker, during the interview, says, "I'm gutted. I felt like I did enough to win." And let's take a back. Like if you just had an emotional response or a gut response to that, saying like, "Oh, get the fuck out of here. How could he think he wins?" And then, or on the opposite side, maybe you just thought like, "Of course he won. Like, look what he fucking." Let's take a step back from that. Let's take a step back. Why would Whittaker feel like he won from inside there? And I know that we weren't in there, so we don't know what he was exactly feeling, but we can take some good guesses. He probably didn't feel that Adesanya was doing a lot of damage to him. It didn't feel like he did a lot of damage, right? And Whittaker also knows how scoring works round by round. Okay? He knows that he lost the first round. He got dropped. It is what it is. But after that, he felt like he won every single round. Now, being in there, if you feel like that none of those shots did any damage to you and you blocked most of them, which he did, like this was a very inactive fight as far as like strikes thrown, okay? And there was a lot of misses. So if you feel like that, and then you also got the takedowns and you landed shots of your own, I think it's understandable to think that you won that fight from your perspective. And for those of you on the how could Whittaker feel like that side, try to imagine being in a fight and you never feel like you're hurt. And you feel like you land good shots and you've done damage and you went for takedowns and you were trying to finish the fight and you were doing the you had forward pressure and you were doing the advancing. Would you feel like you won that fight? Probably. All right. And then for you on the other side saying, "Oh, of course he won that." Like, I think you can already maybe take a step back from that and say, "Oh, from his perspective, this is why he won, not just because obviously he won." So I understand Whittaker's frustration. I can understand Whittaker's frustration. And rightfully so. I understand why people, or why he specifically thought he won. It was a close fight, even for everybody on the outside watching. I watch it again. Go back and tell me it was a complete shutout and you're a liar. You just are. Because it was so close, even round by round. All right. And for those of you guys who have watched this channel for a year now, or a couple years, or however long you've been watching, you might have heard me harp on this before. Adesanya has made a statement that drives me up the fucking wall. The short version, which I've heard from the likes of Rashad Evans and Kamaru Usman and Paul Felder, Michael Bisping, I'm pretty sure has said this at one point. The short version is, you got to beat the champ to be the champ. Now, taken literally, that's an obvious statement. The most obvious of all obvious statements. Clearly, no shit, you have to win the fight to get the win. Duh. The implication is, you need to do more than the champ does to you to win the fight. Meaning, if there is a tie, the tie goes to the champion. And in some people's opinion, you have to do more than that. Like, it can't be slightly in your favor. It has to be overwhelmingly in your favor to beat the champion. This is empirically and absolutely fucking stupid. It's false. It's dumb. Pick your adjective. I don't care. It's asinine. To keep saying this, it's asinine. To believe it, it makes no sense. I'm so sick of hearing it. The fact that professional fighters still have this fucking opinion drives me nuts. I've heard commentary, live commentary say this stuff. This is unacceptable. Not only are you, in this scenario, the commentary team didn't say it, so I'm not harping on them, but they did do a poor job commentating this fight, so I'm going to lump them in with this. You are doing a disservice to the sport of MMA and to the viewers and consumers of the product by saying objectively false statements like that and misleading them into thinking a certain way, because from then on, you might have set an opinion that will change how they view things going forward, that will make their experience less enjoyable because of this false shit that has just been spewed out by someone with experience and authority. Easy example right here. I'm the current champion. You're the challenger. It's a 5-round fight. Okay? The first 3 rounds, we do identical things. Everything, every movement, everything is identical, except you land one more punch than I do in each of the first 3 rounds. That will give you a score of 30 for you to 27 for me. Right? You understand what I'm saying here? Let me say that again. So each round, let's say I land 10 strikes, you land 11. Everything else is identical. Each strike was identical. And none of those strikes, none of those 3 extra strikes, both the 11, the one that you landed in the first, second, and third, giving you 11, 11, 11 to my 10, 10, 10. None of those extra shots you did put me down or almost finish me. Therefore, you get a 10-9 in each round. 10-9, 20-18, 30-27 is the total. If in the last 2 rounds I outstrike you by 20, and these are significant strikes, significant enough to count for that statistic, but not significant enough to put you on your ass or give me a 10-8 in either one of those rounds. If you judge the fight as a whole, I have outstruck you, I probably have outdamaged you, and I probably look better than you do as far as physical damage that I have received, right? The wearing of the damage, let's say. Guess what? You still get the belt. It doesn't matter. You could beat me by 0.1 in 3 rounds, and I beat you by 10 in 2 rounds. Unless those rounds are so significant that I get a 10-8, you're going to win. That's how fucking MMA scoring works. So yes, if you want to be the champ, you have to beat the champ. Yes, in Whittaker's opinion, he did that. He beat you in 2, 4, and 5. In fact, I think he thought he also won 3. I think he thought he won every round after that. So in his opinion, he did do enough to beat the champ. Or to be the champ, right? He did slightly more than you, in his opinion, in each one of the rounds, giving him the win. I can't stand this opinion. I can't stand that statement. And going forward, I never want to hear it again. Of course we're going to. But it really needs to leave the MMA lexicon. We can't say this anymore. We just can't. It's setting up everybody who believes it for failure. It's setting up arguments that don't need to exist. It makes no sense. Like, there's no reason to say it. There's no reason to have this discussion. I never want to talk about this again. I'm sure I will. Anyway, let's really quickly talk about where these two guys go from here. Adesanya looked phenomenal in this fight, by the way. Okay? I thought he looked really good. I feel like he did enough to win. I feel like he did enough to win. I said that already. I gave my opinion on that. I feel like he did enough to win. And I feel like Whittaker did an amazing job. These two are clearly the best two in this division. Who does Israel fight? Based off what I said a couple weeks ago, I still think he should fight Strickland. But because of the fight that happened earlier in the night, he'll probably end up fighting Jared Cannonier. So it's a fresh matchup. I don't think the records really warrant it, but because of the rankings and the timeline and when they fought and just, shooting your shot, man. You shoot your shot, you get it more often than those who don't. So Jared Cannonier is probably next for him. What does Whittaker do? Well, Whittaker takes on Strickland now. I'm okay with that. It's a fresh matchup. We haven't seen it. I don't want to see Whittaker-Vettori. It does nothing for me. I mean, that one could happen, but it does. Actually, that one's okay too. Whittaker-Costa was supposed to happen. Sean Strickland really needs a fight in here, though. Okay, so maybe it's Strickland and Vettori or Strickland and Costa. But Strickland needs to get a fight in here because if he gets one more win, he should be challenging for the title. So that's what I think should happen for these two guys going forward here.